Right.
Hi, this is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast, where CEOs, COOs, and business owners share strategies for better success. This is 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best strategies are concise business advice. And so we're going to get right to our guest today. And with question number one, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, thanks, Keith, and thanks for having me on. Um, my name's Warren Phillips, and I actually wear a few different hats, I would say. Um, Mostly, I'm a clinical psychologist, and I run both a clinical services business here in Iowa, but also organizational consulting business, and do quite a bit of organizational consulting using emotional intelligence solutions to help organizations have a happier, healthier, more productive workplace culture.
Which is very important in this day and age and in this time in our history. So great to have you on and great services that you provide. So question number two, what's the best thing about being a business leader?
You know, I think, Keith, for me, the best thing about being a business leader is the incredibly positive impact that we can have on so many people. You know, when business leaders and leadership is able to both model, um, supportive, open communication and transparency, um, and really encourage that throughout their organization, you can have such an incredibly positive impact on so many people in the organization and stakeholders outside of the organization as well.
Great.
So,
So question number three is right up your alley. So I'm curious to hear your response on this one. But I hear from other leaders that their people strategy in their business can often be more complicated, complex than the actual business strategy of running their business. Your thoughts on that?
I would agree wholeheartedly. I guess the people strategy is by far the hardest and the most important part, really, of running a business. I mean, it's no matter what you do, um, whether you're a professional service industry or manufacturing, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's the people in your organization that really drive the results. And, one of the things I always share with leaders is that emotions drive people and people drive results. And so the people strategy is very important.
And the emotions are constantly changing, so you have to be very
Yes,
proactive.
yes, they are. It's important to be flexible.
Yes. So, question number four, what strategy would you like to share with other business leaders today?
Keith, today, what I think would really be, I'm hoping will be helpful for folks is I'd like to talk a little bit for a few minutes about some of the struggles that I think so many people and so many organizations are having right now as a result of the pandemic. Um, I mean, obviously, this has been going on for quite some time, and we've got vaccines coming, but it's still going to be going on for quite some time, as well as the outcomes. Um, Back in August 2020, the American Psychological Association did their most recent version, their 2020 version of the Stress in America study. Um, this is a study they've been doing for several years. This year, they surveyed around 3,400 adults, about 1,000 teenagers. And in general, what they found was that 78% of the people they surveyed said that the pandemic is a significant source of stress in their life. And even more so, 49% of the people they surveyed basically said that the pandemic has had a negative behavioral impact on their mental health. And so, increased body tension, anger, mood swings, just a variety of struggles. So we know that the pandemic has really had a pretty significant impact on mental health in businesses and organizations and just people in general. Um, with that said, one of the things I've seen as a result of the pandemic and all of I think, pretty significant struggle that organizations and people are going through is I've seen so many workplaces really begin to focus pretty heavily on how can we support the well-being of our employees? How can we support the mental health? Um, so, the this is a perfect time. There's never been a better time. This is a perfect time to really create a culture that is open and supportive to mental health and to well-being in the workplace. And while there's a variety of ways to do that, a couple of things that I think leaders can do that will have a huge impact on this. One is just modeling open communication and vulnerability around mental health. Um, Having those discussions, sharing things like, hey, um, there's been times in my life when I've, really struggled or experienced a lot of stress, or right now is a time when, just like for all of you, I'm also experiencing some stress. And so modeling that open communication and just letting folks know that it's okay. Um, and at a more individual level, the other thing that I really suggest to leaders is that they take some time, leaders and managers take some time to check in with employees and just ask, are you okay? And you might have to ask it a couple of times. You might have to say, are you okay? And then when they give you an answer, check in again, like, okay, are you okay? Um, and just really checking in on how folks are feeling, what's coming up for folks, and letting people know that it's important to you. Um, One of the strategies I've seen a variety of people do very successfully at meetings, for example, is to open meetings by just asking people what's been happening, what's been coming up for you, um, and giving people an opportunity to share a little bit. And then ending each meeting with asking, what do you need? What needs do you have? And it could be needs from the leader, but it could be, what do you need from each other? I've had employers ask this, and people have said things like candy, like, okay, you got it. I've had folks say, hey, I take these regular walks and I'm feeling isolated and cut off. I'd love to, even if we can't walk together, I'd love to be able to have somebody on a video phone to do the walk with me, and getting a volunteer. So, kind of encapsulating a meeting like that can really make a big difference. So that's just a couple of quick strategies that I think can be important and can help with this.
Kind of a sobering topic, but a well needed topic and discussion to have. And, like you said, I think when leaders start doing that, culturally, we're not used to sharing our feelings as much and talking about mental health and stuff. And so I think there is a little bit of a learning curve almost with uh, employees opening up. But, hopefully they do open up over the course of time. And I mean, candy, that's an easy fix,
All right,
but
well, there you go. Yeah.
but some might be a little more complicated. So,
Takes
but
practice and consistency. Yeah.
that's some great tips. So thank you very much for sharing those. Question number 5: what other successful business owners, CEOs like yourself, would you like to maybe do a shout out to, or you think would be good on the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to do a shout out to my business partner. His name's Scott Farber. He's the CEO of Mental Health Partnerships, and just an amazing, caring, empathic business strategist. Just a brilliant guy. Um, Definitely, I would encourage you to have him on your show sometime.
Well, we will see if he's available. That's great. So, kind of a final fun question. Tell me about one of your favorite past bosses.
Let's see. Um, Probably one of my favorite past bosses was my very first job when I was 14 years old, actually. Very first job, I worked it was actually called the Rib Company. It was a rib restaurant. And I was 14 years old, never worked before, was washing dishes in the back. So, it wasn't a glamorous job, and it was, hard. And yet, to this day, I still remember him checking in on me on a regular basis, just individually. He was the owner of the restaurant, and just coming in individually, almost every single time that I was there, just to check in and say, "Hey, really glad to have you here. How's it going? Um, you know, I know this isn't, the easiest, most glamorous job necessarily that you could have here, but really appreciate you being here." And so I still remember that individual attention that he gave to, and really, I think everybody that was there. So.
That's cool. And that's a great example of how a great leader can have such a long lasting impact on us when
Absolutely.
it's done right. I
Absolutely.
mean, that's been, a
Mhm.
couple decades ago, probably, and, it still takes an impact. So,
Yeah, about 3 decades ago. So,
well, it has been great having you on today. Can you tell people how they can link up with you or connect with you?
yeah, absolutely. Probably the easiest way, I mean, you can certainly go to our website, which is twsconsulting.net. You can also send me an email directly at wphillips@twsconsulting.net.
Awesome.
So,
And again, thank you so much for being on. And this is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast. And for more insights and to follow us, you can follow us at Weaver Business Coaching, find us on LinkedIn, and of course, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. And we wish you the best success.
all right. Thanks, Keith.